What's up, y'all? So, last week, I think I posted on Instagram about some fictional flowers, and it made me think about the writing process, and I wanted to share some cool stuff with you. So, a lot of times, whenever I tell people that I write books for fun, hopefully and for profit one day, but so far, mostly just for fun, people ask me, like, where do you get your ideas from? And this is something that I think all writers kind of get asked quite a bit. And for me, I get my ideas from my characters. I just let them write it. And I know that sounds like, oh, haha, I just let the book write itself and it's so magical. It's really not like that. But like, for example, I find that if something really wants in to a story, it's gonna make it in. And these flowers are a perfect example of that. So I started, so right now I'm working on, if you haven't been following me on Instagram or Tumblr or Twitter, you may not know, I've been working on this trilogy called Warfare, Warfaer, for like, it'll be 2 years in November, I think. So I started working on this, and it actually, originally I had this idea for like a VR game, kind of like an MMORPG, but with a VR element. And originally it was going to be like set far enough into the future that people would have like chips in their brains that would like interface directly, and then the game would become sentient and, I don't like what my hair is doing, and like take over player brains and basically like hijack them. So it would be NPCs discovering like the real world. And originally I was going to do that, and then I got really hung up on like, I don't know enough about VR, I don't know about the technology, like I wasn't comfortable making it up. Even though making it up is like the primary job, you have to, for me, I have to feel like I know enough about something to be dangerous. Not necessarily everything, not exhaustively, but enough that it sounds to someone with reasonable understanding like I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's really hard. And I was like, I don't know enough about VR technology, I don't know enough about how the brain works. Like, I feel like I would just be making a little too much out of whole cloth. So I decided not to do that. And then I was like, all right, well, my brain needs a break from that. Let me do something totally different. So I was like, okay, here I am on the technology sort of sci-fi end of things. Let me go to the fantasy end of things. So I started what I thought was just going to be a quick short story about a fairy who was glamored, disguised as a cop, and he lived in this small town because he had been exiled from his fairy home because his sister's a psycho, and he basically like helps find lost kids who are actually being kidnapped by fairies. And I'm writing it, and I'm writing it, and I'm writing it, and I'm like, these stories are connected. This story about the video games and this story about the fairies, they're the two ends of the same thing, same big arc. So, and I'm sorry the light keeps changing. I'm doing this while it's like afternoon, so you're just gonna have to deal with nature. Anyway, so I was like, oh crap, these are actually the same story, and I'm still writing to the same thing. So then I was like, all right, well, I have to figure out kind of what this trilogy is going to be. And so I wrote kind of a big, like, I knew where I wanted it to ultimately go, and I knew who my characters kind of were. I knew most of them. But the most fun characters I find are the ones who pop out of nowhere. And much like the flower, which I swear I'll tell you all about. In fact, I'll tell you about it now. So I was initially in the very, very early stages of the video game sci-fi storyline. I had a player. It was told in the, like, as if the player was a real character, and then it kind of like pans back and you see that they're really playing a game. So originally it was basically an item quest. She had to pick, 12 of these moonflowers or whatever, to bring to some apothecary, whatever, standard MMORPG stuff. So that scene ended up getting totally scrapped because the whole concept, once I understood where the video game fit into the greater arc, that whole concept kind of was overhauled. But I still have the scene because I had written it. But so that was in 2016, like November of 2016, I had written that scene, and I was like, oh, this isn't working for me. I don't know what to do. So I left it. Last week, maybe the week before, I was writing a scene between two characters who are kind of like in the very early stages of maybe having a crush on each other. And one of them brings the other a flower stem, and the flowers on it, do I have the picture? Hang on. Ugh. Oh, I have been a stretch. Was that gross? Hopefully you didn't see anything gross. Hold on, I may edit that out. Okay. Okay. So this is the flower. These are the moon bells right here. So this is the flower that the character gives. Hey. Thank you. That the character gives another character. And so the properties of these flowers are they bloom only on snowy mountain peaks under moonlight. And they bloom for 1 month from the dark moon to the dark moon. And while they're in bloom, they glow very gently like the moon, and they give off sort of a chiming sound. So I just, and I would never have even remembered that I had written another moon kind of flower 2 years ago, except that I was looking through my notes for something else, and I was like, oh, this girl, and it was so old that it was a different name for the character. That's how old it was. So this character, who is no longer called, I think it was Rosalie, is looking for these moonflowers in game. And I was like, those flowers clearly wanted in, because here they are, and I totally forgot that I even wrote them, and now here they are again. So I find that one of the most valuable things as a writer that I can do is to trust my brain and to know that all the good stuff is still in there and it's going to find its way back. And that kind of happens with characters too. I have one character called Tay, and he was, oh, the dogs are excited about something. He was a total surprise. Like, he kind of came out of nowhere. But as soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, you're completely vital to so much of this story, and I didn't even know that I needed you. But I'm so glad that you're here. And actually, I have something cool to show you. There is an account on Tumblr, and I'll link her down below. She's an artist, and she's like amazing, and I love her. And she opened up commissions for the summer back in, I don't know, June or whatever. So I asked her, I was like, do you only do commissions for like existing people or characters, or like could I, like, because I'm a writer and I have these characters of mine that I would love to see in your style because I love your style and it's so cool. And she was like, yeah, totally, I can do whatever. Just, send me reference stuff about them. Reference pictures are great, like descriptions, like whatever you have, send it to me and I'll make it happen. So, and I did pay. It wasn't free. It was a commission. So I did pay. And she took it away, and, she had a couple of questions for me, and we cleared that up, and then she went away and did her thing. And then she came back, I don't know, last week, I think it was a week ago, with the digital file. And I was just like, I was blown away. And I actually got the email when I was in the office. So it took everything that I had not to be like screaming and skipping down the halls like flat out so excited. Like you can see, it's not fake. So I'm like, oh my god, it's so cool. So I have never, like, this is one of my author dreams. One thing that I would love, because I've seen this happen and I just think it's so cool, is I love it when artists like an author's work so much that they start doing like fan art and then it becomes a thing, and the artist and the writer are aware of each other and they're like doing stuff together and they're communicating, and like I think it's so cool. And I was like, that for me would be a bigger success than just about anything else, is to have an artist who I admire, love my work so much that they're like, I need to fan art the heck out of this. And that's not what happened here. I went to this girl and I paid her for her work, but so it's like a step in the maybe direction. Like, not that I'm saying that she's going to be my biggest fan, because that's whatever. But she's really talented. And again, I'll link her down below so you can check her out. But long story short, too late, she drew 3 of the original characters from the trilogy. And they're around like 8th grade age. So for those of you who aren't American and schools work differently where you are, it's like 13, 14 years old. And so I will show them to you. So these are my characters. Like, it's so amazing to be able to look at a picture of my characters while I'm writing them. Like, you don't even know. So this is Tay, and this is Rowan. She's the lead girl, and this is Hyungmin. And yes, these 2 are Korean. There's a reason. It's not just that I'm into K-pop. There is actually a real reason. Whoops. Hello. Focus. Thank you. So, yeah, these are, and it's funny because I refer to them as the Maknae line, and you've got it bad for K-pop when you refer to a set of characters as the Maknae line. But here's the thing. Her older brother is the Hyung line. Her older brother, the older brother's boyfriend, the older brother's boyfriend's sister and her minion are basically like the Hyung line. I can't believe I say that. I'm such a dork. But anyway, so these... Focus! Yeah. So these are the Maknae line. So this is Tay, and this is Rowan, and this is Hyungmin. And I love being able to see them. I love it. They are just... Hold on here. They're so cute. You can see the reflection of my phone. Oh, it's like portraitception. Anyway, I'm super, super happy with it, and I absolutely love her work. And I'm gonna commission her again for, like, this guy gets a major glow up in book 3, so I'm super looking forward to that. Anyway, so there's lots going on, but hold on. So this guy, this one right here, he came out of nowhere. Like, I did not plan for him. He was not part of what I was gonna do. But as soon as he showed up, first of all, get that facial expression. Like, I can't see what you're seeing. Like, look. No, don't focus on me. Look at him. Look at how cute. Like, the little smirk. Oh, that little, I'm sorry, it keeps changing. But that little smirk, like, just, So anyway, the point of all of this crazy hot garbage fire of a fangirl situation is that I have always found that trusting my story is the best way to go. I would never have even remembered the moonflowers. I didn't. And the only reason that I knew that they were a thing from before was because I was looking through my old journals looking for something else and found them. I was like, wait a minute. I wrote them and then forgot them and then I rewrote them. So your brain kind of holds on to the good stuff and it always comes back. And the same thing with Tay. It's not that I had the idea and it went away, but he just showed up. And I've found a lot of times that, like, it's very difficult for me as a control freak to give away control, but the one place that I have absolutely no problem giving away control is in my stories, because I have found through repeated instances that when I give my characters license to do what they're going to do. And when I let the story take me where it's going to take me, it always takes me to a better place than where I had thought it was going to go. And generally, so I'm a pantser. I kind of write by the seat of my pants. There are writers who outline the shit out of everything, and they've got like, in this scene this happens, and in this scene this happens, and like the whole progression. I don't think like that. And although I am very planning oriented, I can't plan stories that way. Like, I could do anything at work, give me a spreadsheet and I'm good to go. But in stories, for some reason, for me, it has to be much more organic. So what I'll typically do is kind of sketch out the big things that I know need to happen. Like, here is where we start. Here's a big thing. Here's a big thing. Here's a big thing. And then I'll kind of write from scene to scene. It's like living from paycheck to paycheck, only with a lot less budgeting. So one thing that I will do typically is I will put out, for myself, I'll do like a calendar. So I'll have kind of the major things that need to happen. That's for the first book. And the second book has this page of calendar. And then I've got another 2-page spread of calendar. So that's basically the timeline for the whole book. And I'll sort of circle out, here are the dates, here are kind of the things that happen on those dates. And that's not all of the scenes, but those are the major landmarks. And this is actually the most detailed that I've ever done for a book. A lot of them are a little bit more organic, but this one I've never written anything with so many storylines going on at once. And they all tie into the same thing, but I've never done this many characters all at once. So having kind of the dates of what happens when and who's talking to whom and whatever, how all of these characters, there's 7 main characters, how they all interconnect. Like, that's a lot. I've never written that many. Typically I do like 1 or 2, maybe 3. So this is a big story for me. But, you know, I had a bigger story this time, so I had to figure out how to make it happen. So that's how I'm doing it. And I find that trusting the writing and trusting the characters takes me farther than anything else that I could do. You know, I'm not a big outliner, and I find a lot of times outlining is frustrating for me because if I plan something and it doesn't go that way, forget it. I flip out. I have to walk away for like 2 weeks before I'm ready to go back. So by leaving in that space for the organic evolution of something, I'm really doing myself and the story a service, because if I try to control it, it won't be right. It'll be what I thought I wanted and not what I actually wanted. So for what that's worth, and I know that there are all kinds of different authors out there who have very different approaches, and my way is not the only way, but it's the only way that works for me to get what I really want to get out of it. So if I could give you any piece of advice, it would be to trust yourself and trust your characters and listen. And it took me a long time to do it. I mean, I used to get so, and I won't say mad, I won't say upset, because those have negative connotations that don't apply here, but I would just be like, that's not, what is this? This is not what I expected you to do. Now I need to go rethink my life. And I've gotten to the point, and that was back in, I don't know, I think I wrote my first book in 2010. So now 8 years later, you know, constantly always working on something, always thinking about stories, always refining my writing style. And I went back and read some of the stuff I wrote 8 years ago, and it was, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was not as good as it is now, because constant practice. You know, same thing with artists. When you see their 2008 picture and their 2018 masterpiece, it's like, wow, okay. Works the same for writers. It's tougher to see because you can't just like give it one look. But it does, you know, practice makes perfect, right? So, but after a constant evolution of learning kind of how my brain works, how my stories go, how my process is, I've found that, you know, trusting my characters always leads to a better place. So where before, you know, in the beginning, I'd be like, what are you doing? I have to walk away from this or I'm going to freak out. Now I'm like, you sly dog, I see what you're doing there. And now that you've done that, it makes this happen. It leads to this. It ties back to this. It's amazing how many connections your brain has. And if you let it do what it's going to do anyway, and you're listening, you can get so much more than if you were just like narrowly focused on what you thought you wanted. Like that's the thing, is that the brain is such an amazing piece of biomachinery, and like you've got so much in there that you don't even realize you have. And letting your brain do what it's going to do and just kind of being the vehicle for that. Sometimes it's a hot mess, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's terrible. But a lot of times you start making these sparking connections. And the more you do it, the more it happens. And the key to that is really letting it happen, giving yourself permission to step back and be like, okay, brain, take the wheel. Let's see what you come up with. And once you kind of attune your inner ear to that, you will come across more and more. So it won't just be the thing that pops up. It'll be, oh, that's how all of these things connect. Like I've got this swimming world in my mind, and I wasn't sure how these two things, I know they have to interact. I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but then bing, this guy shows up, and it's like, oh, that's how it works. So I kid you not, trusting your brain and letting those connections happen and having faith that they're going to take you somewhere is one of the best pieces of advice that I can give any writer. Starting out, seasoned, doesn't matter. I don't care who you are. Your brain is amazing and you should listen to it. So that's my TED Talk for today. Thanks for coming. No, but seriously, if you guys have any questions about writing process, you can ask me down here. You can find me on Tumblr and Instagram and Twitter, and I'll link those down below. Come hang out with me. I love having followers. I love chatting with you guys. I'd love to hear what you'd like to know more about, because I have no idea what to make videos about. I like making them. My light's going away, so it's perfect timing to end this. So I'm going to go, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.